Hey there, I'm Casey Kerr from FindYourRoar.com and welcome to Nightcap. I am so excited for tonight because I have an awesome guest, a very dear friend of mine, just wonderful, amazing, kindred spirit, soul sister, Elizabeth Stanley. Elizabeth is the founder of Healthy Girl Holistic Lifestyle Coaching. She is a life coach, a health and wellness coach. She does work with nutrition. She's an entrepreneur. She's into so many different things that are completely fascinating that I could probably spend 5 minutes just introducing her. And it's going to be fun to try and keep this to our 30-minute window tonight. So tonight, Elizabeth and I are going to be talking about something that is pretty near and dear to both of our hearts, which is letting go. Something that we both have a lot of experience with, both personally and with our clients, and really felt like having a conversation about it with you tonight might help some of you who might be dealing with that. So please join me in welcoming Elizabeth. How are you?
Hey, I'm not sure how I can come off of such a wonderful introduction. I have to live up to that. So Casey, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. This is so exciting, and this is definitely something that you and I it's very near and dear to our heart, and something that's important to us. And like you said, we could probably talk for hours and hours, but it'll be really nice to just kind of maybe hit some of the basics and talk through what we've done as far as letting go and freeing ourselves.
Yeah. I think that'll be a great place to start. And as always, we welcome comments from any of you watching this. If you're watching live, we would love to hear what your thoughts are, and certainly share with us on Facebook if you're watching the recorded version of this. We really want to hear what you have to say, what kinds of challenges you're having with regard to letting go. In the intro that I wrote earlier, I put something in there that is something that I've heard probably my entire life, which was, you just have to learn to let go. And my response to that always used to be, don't you think if I knew how to let go, if I could let go, I would just let go. I can't let go. It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy. I think that, in Casey, you and I have talked about this, and I'm sure everyone that's listening can relate. Holding on to the past and holding on to negativity and holding on to things that are not good for us weigh us down. Mm-hmm. And there's this part of us that understands that and knows that, and yet there's this part of us that clings to it.
Yeah.
And how do we get to that point, really, of self-love and self-respect and letting go of the fear, to be able to let go of things that hold us back? And I always, when I talk to people about that, because it seems like such an overwhelming task.
Yeah.
One day at a time, one small thing at a time, even just journaling or writing down a list of what do I need to do to let go. But really, in honesty, if we don't, we'll spend the rest of our lives hanging on to things that just don't suit our soul, that don't suit our spirit. And we never will really and truly fully be who we are destined to be if we let these things weigh us down.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and I think we see a lot on Facebook, on social media, all these great advice about how do you let things go. And I always feel, when I talk to people, the number one thing in letting go is to forgive ourselves for whatever mistakes we've made, whatever choices we've made that maybe weren't the best, and then also forgiving others. And I think that is sort of step one, and it's really hard. And I don't know about you, Casey, I'll have people say to me, I made this decision and I feel so bad about this. And it's just like, well, in that moment, you made that decision, you got to let it go. You've got to move on from it. But even harder, I think, in moving on is forgiving those who've hurt us, because that really weighs on us. That to me is sort of step one of letting go, is the forgiveness.
It's funny. You know how you've heard that phrase, that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and it's awesome for us to have this conversation, because for me, the first place, with regard to letting go, was recognizing that it wasn't for me letting go of some of the things that you talked about, which just goes to show you how big letting go is, like how broad a category it is. For me, it was about not being able to trust, not feeling secure enough in whatever was going to be happening moving forward, knowing that I was going to be okay, because I didn't have that sense of security that everything was going to be okay. So I thought the more I held on, the more I tried to avoid the things I was afraid of, the more I tried to get in front of what might happen that I didn't want to experience, sort of the more prepared I was. And of course, I wasn't being prepared at all. I was being controlling. I was trying to control the outcome. And I didn't know that there was another way to be. I had no idea. I had no idea that those very behaviors that I thought were protecting me and keeping me safe and making me feel secure were actually making me feel not at all secure. I didn't see the correlation between the two. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think hanging on to certain things, whether it's a bad relationship or a bad job or bad habits, things that we're doing to maybe hurt ourselves emotionally, physically, they become comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They become a part of who we are. And sometimes it's hard to look past those things because we won't recognize ourselves.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I struggled with a couple years ago when I let go of a lot of things, I had a life-changing experience at 42. I became a single mom and started really from scratch. And in the beginning, I really wore that badge, Casey, of sort of being a victim. Why did this happen to me? I didn't deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to go on? And also, what are people going to think of me?
Oh, that's such a big
one. I wore that, and it was so heavy, and it weighed on me so tremendously. I literally could almost feel like my head being down. Didn't want to look at people. Was worried about what people would think, and really carried this bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, after about a year of just hanging on to that, I literally, I think I woke up one day, and it was probably my inner spirit. It was just my inner goddess, my soul screaming at me, Elizabeth, get over it. Like, it's okay. Let it go. And it was like in that moment when I decided to just let it go. I didn't care what the neighbors thought. It's okay to be, a single mom or a single dad at any age. It's okay to start over at any age, because if you have the strength to do it and to put what doesn't suit you behind, you can do it. So that was just sort of, where I decided that was my defining moment in letting go. And the minute I did that, everything changed. Everything in my life went from really being inward and down and dark, to projecting out that positive energy and, just searching for that happiness and abundance that I so wanted, but I had to let go. And it wasn't easy.
No, it's not. And it amazes me. Like, we started to talk about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about, what are we going to talk about tonight? It's going to be so fun. And I just am so amazed at how sort of broad and big this whole topic is, because we're like yin and yang, where we're seeing different sides of this, which I think is so amazing for people who are listening to it, because it just goes to show you that this can affect you from so many different angles. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, a very big defining moment was recognizing, like really feeling and understanding that I am doing the best that I can at every moment in my life. And then if I am, I have to give that grace to other people, right? And because I'm so, I have such sort of high standards for myself, and because I'm such a hard ass on myself, and I am on other people too. It's one of those things where I didn't realize I was sort of perpetuating this, I'm not good enough. And so because of that, it felt like nothing in my life was good enough. Nothing that I was doing was good enough. Nothing that I was experiencing was good enough. And I didn't get the connection with that. Do you know what I mean? So when I finally realized what it meant to embrace the truth that I am always doing the best I can, that means that's enough. That's just enough. And I have to let everything else go. I have to just find a way to be okay with it. And for me, when I understood it that way, it really made it just that much easier for me to do that. It almost happened naturally, as opposed to me saying, I gotta let it go, I gotta let it go, I gotta let it go, I can't let it go, how can I let it go?
I mean, your journey led you to that spot. And I always believe that we sort of have this inner awakening where you got to that spot and I got to the spot where I was, where, that sort of inner voice, that our true self. I have conversations with people all the time about how our brain is just like this all the time. It's so loud. If we could block it out and just listen to what's inside, the real us, our heart and soul, all the answers we need lie right there. Yeah. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do that. I think I was speaking to someone recently and she was talking about a divorce. And I assumed from the way she was speaking about it that it was, recent. It was 15 years ago. And the bitterness and letting it just define her. And, we started talking, and that's some of the work that hopefully I'll be able to do with her, is getting her to let it go. But I think one of the most profound things I realized, or that I'd want to share with anyone who's listening, is we're all going to have a bumpy journey. I mean, unfortunately, this journey is bump free. It's not bump free. It would be great if it were bump free, but it's bumpy. And I think when really hard things happen to us, and gosh, they seem to, I don't know if we get to a certain age and we realize, wow, everyone around us is truly dealing with something. It's not just me. But we can let these things define us and make us better. Or we can take these hardships and take these bumps in the road and let them propel us and let them make us better people and learn from them and make us stronger. And in turn, hopefully help other people who are going through the same thing. I remember very shortly after, getting separated, saying to one of my daughters was very upset. And I remember saying to her, I really think in this situation, I have two choices. We have two choices. We can sink or we can swim. And I sure as heck plan on swimming like the Dickens. I'm not giving up. Yeah. And sometimes it comes down to that. Are we going to let something that life has dealt us, a horrific blow, sink us? Or are we going to swim with it? And, just getting to that point of having the confidence, like you said, Casey, you had to get to that point in your journey where you realized you are enough. You're doing the best you could, but you journeyed through it to get there. And that's sort of the beauty of self-discovery and getting to the point where, you and I both are.
It is. And what continues to amaze me is that it really is all a matter of perspective. It's all in the way that you see it. You can be looking at the exact same, your life doesn't need to change. Everything can be exactly the same. And when you shift just a little bit the way that you see things, it completely changes the way that you feel. Like just saying that, what you said about we can sink or we can swim, me saying, I know that I'm always doing the best I can. I'm like I honestly believe that the way that we interpret information, like if you're the kind of person who is visual versus you know, a kinesthetic, a feeler, or you're auditory, you're a hearer, makes a difference. So for me, I like to talk and I like to listen, but even when I logically take in information and understand it, unless I can turn it into a feeling experience, it's still just up here. It's not in here. Do you know what I mean? And so for my dad told me when I was very, very young, everybody's doing the best they can. Always remember that. So I always remembered it, but it didn't mean anything to me. Do you know what I'm saying? And as soon as I actually like allowed myself to experience it and to feel what that felt like, to give myself that break in the moment, not overall, because it's hard to do things in general. It's still logical. You got to do it for yourself in the moment when it's happening. Like you and your daughter having this conversation and her struggling in that moment and you saying, this is how we're going to swim. And me saying in the moment, I right now am doing the best that I can. So it doesn't matter what else is going on. It's in the moment that we do it, right? But that's what allows you to have that perspective shift where all of a sudden it feels different. It just, for me as a feeler, it feels different. You know, for if you're a seer, then you start to all of a sudden see things differently. And it's the same thing for an auditory person, although I tend to think that the auditory people sort of have it the easiest because they can just take the words in, you know? It's
I think so much of us become prisoners of our past. And I think the message that we need to remember is the past is a lesson. It doesn't have to be a life sentence.
No.
And we all make mistakes. And I feel like we're so hard on ourselves, Casey.
Mm-hmm.
So hard on ourselves. We're human. And we need to move past, you know, the things that we did in the past and not let them define us and make us better. Because the other thing, I don't know if you've noticed this, when someone doesn't let go of things, now say it's in a relationship, for instance, they had a bad relationship, they had a bad breakup, they had a bad divorce. And that person really honed in on some insecurity about them. Really made them feel bad about themselves. That's not truly what represents them, but that was that person's interpretation of them. So then now we believe that. So they said, you know, whatever about us, that we talk too much, or we're too pushy, or we're too, you know, we're in just all kinds of negative things. And then these words sort of seep into us. We're like, okay, well, maybe I'm like that. And now we try to enter another relationship and we haven't let that go. It's all kind of still here. And we really wind up sabotaging the next relationship because we're going to project out those insecurities from the one before, because they're like right here. Mm-hmm. They're just like hanging on to us. And we might meet a nice person and they haven't even done anything. And we're already projecting onto them as a defense mechanism the insecurities from that last one. And I see that time and time again. And I'll be honest, I think before I had fully let go, I started doing that in my life too, because I had just insecurities about I was in a 20-year relationship, and what is it like to be out there outside of that? Well, maybe I did do something wrong, or maybe, you know, you have all that sort of in your head. And then also, Casey, probably with some of the work that you do professionally, say someone got fired or laid off for not doing a good job, they're going to carry that into the next situation. And it just we really do need to let go. It harbors, it sticks to us.
It does. And it doesn't even need to be something that someone else told you about yourself or accused you of. All it needs to be is something that, you know, that you're insecure about yourself, something that you think about yourself, or something that you're afraid might be true about yourself. And then you start to hear, you know, the other person in your life telling you that, even though they're not telling you that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's your shadow. You're so afraid that this is what this person that you care about deeply or that you respect deeply, if it's, you know, depending on your personal life or your business or just, you know, personal relationships, it really doesn't matter. When you have a hang up about being a certain adjective, you're always going to be expecting, do other people think that about me?
Right.
And so it's very easy for you to project that onto them, like you're saying. And then when you do that, then the person starts to see that in you, because you actually become that adjective in a way. And so it's like, that's how you create the monster that you're afraid of. And we do that all the time, all the time. I just
so much about what other people think, and it's so hard, I feel, not to. And because we're human and we care. But I think when we really get to a point of self-love, I have a funny story, and I don't even know if this is appropriate to even tell, but it's very funny.
Bring it on.
I really had a lot of societal belief systems as a woman regarding, you know, being Irish Catholic, not getting divorced. There wasn't any divorce in my family. So I really was clinging to that, wow, I've done something wrong thing. And I felt like a lot of the parents at my children's school sort of looked at me different. And quite frankly, some of them probably did. And I cared for like that first year, Casey. Last summer, they had their fun day, their field day. And a friend of mine pulled me aside and said, you know, I don't know if I should tell you this, but so-and-so was talking about you. And she said you walked by and said, who does she think she is? She's, you know, she's doing this and she's doing that. And, you know, just sort of, you know, saying like things that I was doing. And she was worried that it would hurt my feelings. And I said to her, you know, a year ago, absolutely, that would hurt my feelings, that somebody was sort of saying, who does she think she is, being on the radio or giving people advice or starting your own company. But I said, honestly, I think it's fabulous because people are talking about me. So if people are talking about me, I must be doing something right. And it was such an empowering moment, Casey, because I was like, I just don't give up what anyone thinks. But the other thing is too, I think people like to put us in a box. Yeah. They put us in a box of who they think we should be. That makes them really comfortable because they're in a box too. And the minute we do something, we step out of that box, they're not comfortable with who we are anymore, because now we could possibly remind them or mirror some of the things that aren't right in their life. So they're going to take cracks at us, shots at us. They're going to try to bring us down because we don't fit into their box anymore. And that can be really hard, I think, when you're making a life change, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship change or a professional change, any significant change. There's going to be people who aren't going to support you because it doesn't feel good to them. They probably don't have the personal strength to make that change. And I really went through so much of that. And at the time it was really hard. And now I look at it as such a blessing because I learned so much from it. And I mean, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the learning process, the journey. It was all part of the journey. I think it got me to be here. I'm not saying I don't care ever what anyone thinks.
You're human.
But I mean, I'm human. But for the most part, I believe in me and I believe in the choices I've made. And if you don't agree with me, then let's just be polite and, you know, be okay with disagreeing in a loving manner. You know,
that's an important part of it. Is
it's okay to disagree.
It is, and it's also okay if people judge you. People are always going to judge, because that's the one thing that makes people who are feeling insecure, whether they're generally insecure or insecure in that moment, one of the things that makes you feel in the moment better about yourself is judging someone else. It's like, that's kind of like a, you know, an emotional way of straightening up your shoulders and, you know, puffing your chest out or whatever you're going to do that makes you feel sort of full and solid. And so people are going to do that because it's a defense mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. The point is they don't have to be a bad guy, and it doesn't have to be true. And you can still just know that it's happening and just really kind of send them some compassion and grace and feel a little bit sorry for them that they're feeling insecure in that moment, and that's the way that they're going to feel better. And it took me a long time to realize that and to put that into practice, because of course you're so hurt in the moment, right? And the other thing that people tend to do is say, oh no, they're not talking about me. That's silly. I'm imagining it. Well, no, don't tell yourself that, because then when you find out that people are talking about you or judging you, you feel like you're shaky because now you don't know what you can believe, right? So for me, it's better to assume, hey, they probably are, but you know what? Let them. If that's what they need to make themselves feel better, I'm just going to go out and do my thing and just project out all the happiness that I feel, all the joy that I feel, all the love that I feel, and just let people feel that, because the right people are going to sense that and feel it. And they're just going to come back in and give that to me because it feels good for them being on the receiving end of it. And
it's so funny that you say that, because we talked about that a little bit earlier about, and we could do a whole show on energy,
I know, right?
But on the projecting out. And I've seen this with so many of my clients, and then also with myself. The minute I shifted that energy from waking up every day with, how am I going to get through this day? And I'm wearing this burden on me every single day, and switching it to waking up and with a sense of gratitude for what I do have, and not focusing on the lack, like we've talked about, the lack of money, the lack of whether it be companionship, the lack of all that lack. And I focus on that for a while. We let go of that lack, and we focus on just projecting out the abundance that we do have. And we all have something to be grateful for. I had someone recently say, well, I really have nothing to be grateful for. And we do. I think sometimes it's hard to find it, but we do. And I look at both of my daughters sleeping and our little rescue pup, and I literally say to myself every night, I have everything I need. I have these two beautiful daughters. I'm doing something I love. I'm healthy. We're healthy. It's okay. Like the lack is not gonna weigh me down. And I try to start every day from a place of gratitude. But to your point, Casey, that projecting out, I think when we project out the love, like you were saying, to everyone we meet. And I think a lot of people struggle with the word love, because they think, okay, well, love means, like a romantic love. It doesn't. It means being at the drive-thru in Dunkin' Donuts and that same person you see every day and ask, just saying hi to them and how's your day, and just giving out positive to everyone that comes into your field of contact. And you get it back, and it's reciprocal, and just smiling. If you see someone at this, I smile at everyone. My girls think I'm nuts. My mom, why are you smiling at people? Why not? Why not? Because isn't it just nice to make eye contact with someone and just smile?
Absolutely.
And just project out that positiveness. And I know in my life when I did that, and I know for sure when you did that, everything changed for us. It's like the playing field was leveled, and just the abundance and the joy and the self-love was all started growing once we changed that energy to project out loving and gratitude every day. Yeah. And it's so important.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe it feels like 5 minutes in and we're coming
done.
I know, right?
We haven't even getting to self-love yet.
I know, right? We'll have to do this again. I guess the one thing that I want to say to people out there listening, as we're talking about letting go, and as we're talking about, projecting these feelings out there into the world, and really everything that we're talking about, there are practices that you can do. And when you struggle to do these practices and to apply them, it's because you don't have the emotional muscles for that yet. It's because you have programming that's got you looking at life through a lens one way. And it takes some undoing. it takes some strengthening of these new emotional muscles that you're not used to using in order for you to be able to apply some of this stuff. So, it's not something that you have to do on your own. There are people out there like Elizabeth and like myself and like lots of other amazing people who can help you do that. And what I always say is find someone who's speaking in language that resonates with you. Listen for the people who say the things that you go, oh my God, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. She's in my head. And when you find that person, listen to what they have to say. Find out how they can help you. Because you know what? I'm sure that you didn't go through this journey on your own, right? You got coached, you got helped, you got support.
Find our tribe. We got to find our tribe of people that believe in us. Whether I had a lot of spiritual help, and whoever we can find, we need to surround ourselves with really our tribe of positive loving people. Get rid of the toxic people.
It takes a village.
It takes a village. I love, and I know we have to go, there's that song out right now by Tim McGraw, the Humble and Kind song, and every time this one line comes on, I always get a little choked up, and he says that bitterness keeps you from flying. Yeah. And it's like the quote of my life. And I wish everybody could see that. If we could say one thing tonight, is bitterness does keep you from flying, hanging on to all that stuff, because we all deserve to fly. We all deserve to have, a wonderful, fulfilled life. And
we do.
Let go of that bitterness.
That's what we're here for. And if ever there was a time to do it, it is right now.
Absolutely.
It is right now. Because the world needs the kind of light that you're shining and that I'm shining and that the people who are attracted to us are shining. And for me, for the longest time, I was so much a slave to the fears that I had. And I didn't even fully realize it. They were, oh, it's because of this, it's because of this, it's because of that. It doesn't matter if you know what it is or not. It's that, if you're not getting out there and doing what you want to do, if you're not being who you want to be, if you don't feel the way you want to feel, if your circumstances don't match what you want and nothing is changing, then you got some stuff going on that you need to clear up. And if you could have done it by yourself already, you would have, right? And so if it's gone on for more than a couple of months, then find someone who hears what you're saying and who is 10 steps ahead of you in the journey, and grab their hand and find out how they can help you, whoever it is, because there's a million people out there.
Sometimes we just need someone to sort of light the path for us. I mean, ultimately the journey is ours. We need to have the strength to want to change courses, and maybe to make really tough decisions. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I think having someone in your life to light that path for you can really be helpful. Maybe someone who's been through stuff, who gets it,
mm-hmm.
how difficult it is, and
absolutely.
Societal belief systems. That's a whole nother topic conversation, because we cling to those. I know I was clinging real hard, and to just those things that are kind of ingrained in us from society, mm-hmm. of what's right and wrong, and there's no right or wrong. It's what's good for us.
Yeah,
so
it is.
This is awesome.
Oh, Elizabeth, I'm giving you big hugs. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me tonight. We have to do this again very soon.
I would love to. We could talk forever.
We really could.
You are such a bright light, my friend.
Oh, right back at you, my love. Absolutely. You shine so bright every time I see you. It's, hello, gorgeous. How are you?
Friends from a past. Friends for several lives, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in that.
Your old souls.
Right? Well, thank you guys out there who watched us tonight and who are watching the recording of this. It means the world to me too, to know that you're on this journey with me, and that you're asking questions of yourself, and that you're expanding yourself, and that you're doing whatever it takes to be the best version of yourself, because that's what life is all about. And you deserve it. And I'm so grateful to be inspired by you every day, by being inspired to want to be the best version of myself. And thank you for bearing witness to it. It means everything to me. So thank you for joining us here on Nightcap. I'm Casey Kerr. Mwah, big hugs and kisses. Casey Kerr out. Good night, guys.